Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Today we are going to be talking about financial aid and next steps. We know it's a hot topic and it has been since that magical date of December 31st. So before we begin discussing our topics today, we want to introduce ourselves. So my name is Myra Luna or Miss Luna to students. I am the College and Career Futurology Counselor at San Juan Hills High School. And then tonight we also have two others joining us.
Hi, everybody. My name is Being Nguyen, and I am the CUSD-Futureology College and Career Counselor at Elisa Niguel High School.
And hello, I'm Laura Josso, and I am the College and Career Counselor at San Clemente High School.
And so this team is made up of 8 folks altogether. We're credential school counselors, experts in college admission, and we are data driven. So if you're not sure who your college counselor is, futurology counselor, this is who we are in the screen. We are always available via email or in person or phone call.
Okay, and we'll get right into our agenda. So we are going to be going over today basically the FAFSA and the CADA application, the types of aid that you could be receiving, college portal to-do list, and we're going to go over the financial aid award package as well, examples of that, and tips and reminders. As we know, some of you have already submitted your application, and we want to go over next steps with you, okay? All right, so you have two options as you're completing your financial aid applications, and you would either be filling out the FAFSA or the California Dream Act application with your students. The FAFSA would be for U.S. citizens, U.S. residents, or U.S. eligible non-citizens. And then for the California Dream Act, it will be for all undocumented students, okay? Now, our deadline this year is April 2nd, although some schools are still encouraging students to file their financial aid applications by March 2nd, okay? So this is very important, and we urge you all to get started if you haven't yet. For international students, I'd like to make a note that if you are here on a work visa with your family, then you may not be eligible to complete either one of these applications. So if this is your case, we encourage you to contact colleges that you are applying to and apply for scholarships available to you through the institution, okay? Now, for creating your FAFSA or CADA account, you will need to go over, you will need to fill out basically follow these steps, okay? So you would be entering your email address and creating a username. You would create your password and complete your profile. Now, this will include your social security number. It will include your birth date exactly, and your name exactly as it appears on your social security card. You will be picking 4 challenge questions and the answers to them. You'll verify your email address and your mobile phone number, and you will complete the 2-step verification process, and they will give you a backup code once you receive your FSA ID, okay? Now, for this, for those of you who haven't started your financial aid process, this is the first step, okay? Now, as a reminder, both the student and the parent will need to will need a FAFSA account to complete the application, okay? So for those of you completing, basically your parent would have their account and then you would have your account, and both will log into your accounts and fill out your portion of the application and then sign and submit, okay? For the California Dream Act application, the parent does not need to make another account. You would just fill it out through the student's account, okay? Now, a few of the application reminders are that your student will create the account and complete their portion of the application and invite the parent. Now, in order for your student to do this, they will need the parent's social security number if that's applicable. They'll need your date of birth and email address to invite their parent to complete their portion of the application. Okay, so once that happens and the parent will create their account, they will accept the application, complete their portion, and then sign and submit. Okay, we've had a few cases where everything is done up until the point that they sign and submit. Until you sign and submit, your application will not be processed, okay? Now, processing times at this time, because the application opened later this year, the processing times will vary at this time. But your colleges will receive your FAFSA or CADA applications, and you'll be able to see your financial aid offer. At this point, they will likely, the U.S. Department of Education has let us know that they will not be sharing your financial aid information with your colleges until March. So this means that the student will likely get their financial aid letter sometime in April. Okay, so that's the timeline that we're looking at right now. Now, if you're having trouble with your application, or it's not letting you go through, or you're just not able to submit, please reach out to any one of us at your school sites. We are here to support you and to help you through the process, okay?
Thank you, Ms. Strasser, for those reminders. So again, if you have not completed your application or you're kind of waiting, you still have time. You have until April 2nd. There's been several glitches, so we just wanted to point you to the right direction of the application, where to go, deadline, and then what to do if you have not created your application. But right before we get into really the meat of today, going over once you've applied, what happens, right? So you've done all the application, you've had some moments with your parents to discuss financial aid and go over the process, create your account, and so on. After that, if you have not done so already, this is just a reminder to students, the schools that you have applied for, they should have been sending emails in the last month or so asking you to create your college portal. Sometimes there's a misunderstanding. You have to wait to create your college portal until you have been accepted. You do not. You actually have to create that prior to being accepted, because a lot of times you will only find that information in the college portal. Each of the portals will look differently. So on the screen here, we have an example of what a Cal State portal might look like. Of course, UC and private and so on have a different feature, but essentially they're made up of the same things. So on point A here, you'll see that there's this student had some holds. Then you see point B, financial aid offer, which is what we're going to discuss today. Their contact information, so it's important that if you see something on there that's incorrect, you update that. And then most importantly, other than financial aid, is your to-do list. Yes, there are students who are selected for verification, or there are students that need additional documentation your school is requiring. Because remember, the FAFSA application or the CADA application, that is sent then to the colleges. In the application, you are listing all the colleges you've applied for, and then those colleges will then receive that application. And so then that's how they're going to distribute what we call a financial aid letter or award package. You may have been, there's different name, financial aid offer is what we're going to call it today, just that breakdown of that financial aid letter or offer. So very important, if you see certain holds, be sure to look at the deadlines. If there's a transcript, unofficial transcript that needs to be sent to the college, make sure you're doing that. You can also talk to your college counselor or your school counselor guidance office to ensure that you are sending the proper documentation, okay? And then financial aid, which is what we're here to do and what we're here to discuss. So there'll be a feature in your college portal that says view financial aid, right? Will look something like that. Now, it can be very confusing, and this slide is very wordy, but it's meant to just provide a lot of information. And we really want to point you that there are different types of financial aid grants that can be offered and students may be eligible for. They have different criteria. For instance, Cal Grant A, you see the 3.0 high school GPA minimum, Cal Grant B 2.0 minimum, and so on, right? So we want to show you what your student might be receiving, and this can vary by the college. The state grant will stay about the same, but depends on the college, right? So be sure that you're looking at that view financial aid to see if you have received a California grant. We're also going to talk about web grants at the end of this before the webinar ends, because it's another piece for financial aid once you have completed your FAFSA or CADA application. Keep in mind that they will vary depending on your university. So a lot of students might be shocked that they receive one financial aid offer for a Cal State that looks something like this, and then a private school will look either higher or lower. Each financial aid offer is catered to the student because it's based on GPA or if they're low or middle income students. Another part, the other sections that make up your financial aid offer can be scholarships, and that can be university specific or some specialized programs, right? So you have your EOP grants, you have your student service grants, and so on. Sometimes you will see that Cal State Long Beach maybe offered your student a university grant, but then Cal State Fullerton didn't, right? So because they're university specific, but those scholarships will also be embedded in your financial aid award letter or offer. Then we want to bring your attention to federal work study. This is not money that is given to the student, but it is money that students can work for while they're at the campus. So for instance, if they get an estimate of $2,000 in federal work study, then that is how much up to how much the student can get if they have a job on campus, right? So that can range from working at the cafeteria, working at the dorms, and so on. And so it various jobs, but that is what makes up federal work study and provides employment while the student is going to school. And it's available to your students. It can be available to your students if it's in the financial aid offered. Okay? And then, of course, the scary kind of word of the day can be loans, but loans can be very helpful, especially if there's a gap in your in the financial need, right? So there are different kinds of loans. We have our subsidized loans and unsubsidized loans, right? Those are the ones that you'll hear more often or what you'll see in your financial aid letter. This is the amount is determined by the school. And this one is the most helpful because you don't have to pay interest while you're still in your academic career at the university. Unsubsidized loans, though, you have to the interest will expire right as you get the loan. So make sure you understand the differences between that. And then as you are going through your financial aid letter and you're in contact with financial aid office at your university, you get exactly the information you need. Ask all the questions that you need to ask, right? We're going to provide examples for you so to get more familiar with the language and things to expect as you are looking through your financial aid offer. Then there are also some Parent Plus loans that can be available to the parent. And those will be determined again by financial aid. Keep in mind, if you do accept a loan, there will be a process for you to understand that you are getting a loan from the university and whether it's subsidized or unsubsidized or a Parent Plus loan. It's in the name. Parent Plus loan is only available to parents, whether a biological or adoptive parent is not available to students, okay? And before we get into reviewing the anatomy of the letter, you want to bring your eyes to key words that will stick out as you are reading through your financial aid offer. So different forms, your package will contain various forms of aid, and we want to make sure that you have the tools to analyze them closely and be aware of these words like total cost of attendance, net cost, grants, loans, right? So different words mean different things, and they can be a challenge, which is why we're doing this tonight. Just get yourself familiarized with the words and then also the layout of what that financial aid package may look like as you are receiving these. We do want to point out that because of the delays in financial aid with the FAFSA and CADA application, students have not received a financial aid award letter, or many students, I shouldn't say anyone, nobody has received, but many students have not received an award letter because the colleges have not been able to process the application yet. But that will be coming in the next month or so, but be on the lookout and make sure you get the application submitted before April 2nd. When I mentioned the California grants, right, that's specific to California schools only, and students are only eligible or considered for those if they submit before the state deadline, which is that of April 2nd. Now we are going to go into the anatomy of the award letter.
Oh, actually, Ms. Luna, is this your slide as well, the total cost of attendance?
I'm sorry, yes.
Yes.
I got this question a lot actually this past week with parents. They're saying, okay, now that we understand the financial aid award letter or the things to be looking for, how do I know how much the school will cost, right? So this is providing a quick overview depending on the type of university, right? Different university systems have a different cost. As an example, for Cal State, the tuition will be around $7,000, just depends on the campus. Some of them can be $6,900, $8,200, right? So we're just giving you an estimate. Food and housing is always the most expensive. because if students want to live on, this is taking into consideration like if the student wants to live in the dormitories and to have a meal plan on campus. And then fees, health fees, and so your total cost of attendance at a Cal State can be somewhere around $24,000 or $26,000 per year. So you just want to take a second to look at this chart just to give you an idea of when we look at total cost versus net price before we actually talk about the breakdown of the financial aid award letter. We also would like to note that there's no number here in the private college or universities or out of state for food and housing, just because it can vary, just like tuition. For example, USC, which is a private institution, their tuition ranges to $67,000, but a different private university will have a different tuition price, just like an out-of-state school. So out-of-state schools, if they are not part of MUI, then they'll have the non-resident fee. And so, of course, that will cost more for a student coming from California to Oregon than if the student had lived there. That is why the price will look a lot higher than what you see with our California schools, like our Cal States or UCs, and then and so on. So the prices will vary. It's case by case depending on the university and the fees, but these are sort of averages of what you could expect to pay per year at that university or college. And then community college, they are the free promise programs, right? Like our partner school, Saddleback. So even though this is sort of the average tuition, it would be free for students if they complete all the necessary steps at Saddleback to ensure that they don't have to pay for tuition. But then they still have their other fees that they are responsible for, transportation, things like that. So make sure you are also looking at total cost as you are breaking down or looking and reading through the financial aid offer.
All right, thank you, Ms. Luna. Okay, I have questions for you before I go into the anatomy of an award letter. First of all, I'm curious to know if we have any, can you just in the chat box let me know what grade your student is in? I want to know if we have anybody who's not a senior parent or student in here right now. So we have 12th grade. Okay, perfect. This is for you, okay? But even if you are not in 12th grade, this is good preparation for next year. We had a question come through earlier, which was when should a junior complete the FAFSA? And the answer is they should not be completing a FAFSA or a California Dream Act application. Financial aid applications are for seniors, and it looks like we have predominantly seniors in here tonight. So thank you for letting me know that. But if you are the parent of an 11th grader, or if you are an 11th grader, this is good information for next year, okay? But don't worry about completing an application if you're a junior right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the anatomy of an award letter. First of all, on the screen right now is an example of what an award letter would look like from a university. Now, when students get accepted to a college, they will be provided a financial aid award letter. This is how you're going to be able to make a decision as to what school makes the best makes the best kind of like sense to you as a family financially, right? You're going to be comparing financial aid award letters. So you'll see here from top to bottom, this is what an award letter typically looks like. It can be kind of confusing, especially if you're a student looking at this. So what we're going to do is we're going to break it down piece by piece, okay? And we're going to talk about the elements in an award letter so that you have a better understanding of what to look out for. So let's go to the next slide and talk about the very top part of that award letter, okay? So this is a sample university, Averett University, right? And at the top of most financial aid award letters, what you're going to see is what Miss Luna just mentioned earlier, which is the cost of attendance of the school. They're all required to tell you how much it costs to go to that university, right? So at the top, typically, what the schools do is they will break down how much it will cost for the student to attend. I want you to be aware of something, okay? There are two different types of costs in your award letter, and you'll see them at the top. You'll see in red, it says direct costs, and then in black, indirect costs, okay? So if we look at the cost breakdown, the first two line items on the total cost of attendance are what we would call direct costs. So what are those on the screen? We have tuition and fees, and we have housing and meals, okay? So tuition and fees, $37,790 for this fake school. Housing and meals, $11,360. So when we say direct cost, what we mean is that this is actually what you are going to be billed for. So if you as a family are wondering, what am I responsible for paying? What check do I have to cut? What amount for? It's going to be for direct costs, because this is the amount that the university will be charging you for your student to attend and possibly live and eat at that school. So direct costs are a great way for you to know the bottom line of what you have to write a check for to the school, okay? In addition to total cost of attendance, though, they also want you to know the additional cost required for a student to study in university or college. And these would be what we would consider indirect costs, right? So they're not something that you're going to get billed for, but they are expenses that you have to account for to prepare for life at university. Those would include books and supplies, because you're going to have to buy books for a lot of your classes, supplies like notebooks, pencils, pens, fancy calculators, whatever it may be, right? You're also going to have to account for transportation. If you're commuting, it might cost more if you're paying for gas. It could be a bus pass if you're going to school in the city, right? So they want you to save money and account for the cost of transportation around the university and to and from the university if you're going to school, let's say, across the country, right? And then they also want you to account for other additional education costs or just random miscellaneous costs. And that could be anything from emergency money to fun money that you might want to spend to go out with your friends on the weekends, or just other costs tied to your education. And then what they do is they give you an estimated cost of attendance, which is that big old number you see at the bottom, that 52,798. That's a big number, right? And they're telling you, hey, if you want to go here, these are the expenses that you will definitely be charged, the direct costs. And these are some of the other things that we think you should account for via indirect costs, okay? So this is what it's going to look like. So you know, big picture, this is what we think it's going to cost to attend this school. So if we move on to the next portion of the award letter, we're going to go to the middle part. So what they're going to do is they're going to say, this is how much it's going to cost to go here. 52,000 we saw on the other slide, right? Now, the fun part happens where it's like, okay, this is what it's going to cost. Let us tell you how we're going to help you pay for this. And one of the first ways they're going to do this is by telling you how much you get in terms of free money, right? So we're talking scholarships, we're talking grants. Like Miss Luna mentioned earlier, in California, your students, if they're applying to a California university, right, will be in the running for California grants, like the Cal Grant or the Middle Class Scholarship. In addition to that, they will also be considered for institutional aid. For example, like Miss Luna mentioned, a Cal State grant, you know, or a UC grant, depending on your financial aid application, and also sometimes merit, so based on your grades, right? So they're going to evaluate everything about you through your financial aid application and your college application, and they're going to offer you, hopefully sometimes, you know, scholarships or grants. So this is where it's listed on the award letter, right? Cost of attendance, then free money we can give you. In this example right here, you'll see that the school is offering $17,000 in merit-based scholarships. So this is based on grades. Merit is another way of saying you earned this through your grades, right? Or your academic performance. In addition to that, the school's like, you know what? We're not going to stop there. We're going to offer you grants as well. Grants are need-based typically. And this school is offering the student multiple grants, right? So this student qualified for a federal Pell Grant, which is based on household income given to you by the US government. And then they were given an institutional grant from the university itself based on the student's need. And then and $4,000 in state grants as well. So in total, this student will have received $17,000 in grants plus $17,000 in scholarships. So a total of $34,140 in free money that the college is offering. Keep in mind, all of your offers will look different. This is an example, right? But the next line item is usually this free money bucket. So you see how much money they're going to give you. So if we move down past that on the award letter, you're going to see a very important line item, and that's going to be called the net price. Okay. So the net price is what you will be required to pay. It's basically the difference between the free money they gave you and the cost of attendance. So for this school, if you recall, the cost of attendance was $52,000, right? And that includes direct costs and indirect costs. And then they offered the student like 34 something thousand in free money. So what they did was they subtracted the scholarships and grants from the cost of attendance. And what you have left is the net price, $18,658 in this example. And the net price is essentially what is left, what the family would be responsible for paying for after the school has offered what free money it has to give you. Okay, so this is an important number to keep in mind because this is what they're saying you would have to pay out of pocket. So after that, typically what they're going to say is, listen, we know that was scary. We know that you still have $18,000 on the line, and that's a lot. So this is what we're willing to offer you in the form of loans, okay? So again, I'm going to break it down because it's a lot. Cost of attendance at the top, big number. How much free money can we offer you? Beautiful. Let's subtract this free money from the total cost of attendance, and this is what you owe. This is what is left that you have to pay. So let us help you close that gap. So a lot of colleges will end up offering students and their parents loans to help make up for that remaining amount. And in this case, it was that $18,000, right? So in this example, you'll see a loan breakdown for the student, and your financial aid offers will look like this. Students will be offered a variety of loans sometimes, depending on the student, and also oftentimes parents will be offered loans, like Ms. Luna mentioned earlier, in the form of a Parent Plus loan. So if it does not say parent in front of it, if you see something like this on the screen where it says federal direct subsidized, federal direct unsubsidized, those are loans that the student would be taking out as an adult, as an 18-year-old, okay? And then if it says Parent Plus or Plus loan, that is for the parent to take out for the student. And that would be the person responsible for repaying the loan. You'll see here that this university is trying to help that family close the gap by offering the student $3,500 in direct subsidized loans, in addition to $2,000 in unsubsidized, for a total amount of $5,500 in loans that the student can take out to help pay for that year's expenses, which they calculated to be $18,000 for that net price, right? Keep in mind that when a school offers you grants and loans, you do not have to accept the full amount. Obviously, we'll probably want to accept the full free money amount. So if they're giving you free money, let's accept it. But if they offer you a loan, the student does not have to accept all $5,500. They can say, you know what? I don't need all of that, but I would like to take it $1,000 in loans to help pay for books. And you can adjust the amount of your offer as well, or you can say no to all of the offers, okay? So keep that in mind. So let's move on to the next screen or slide and also discuss additional ways they're going to try to help you pay for school. This is a really tricky one, and Ms. Luna mentioned this earlier. It's the work option or the work study option. You'll see here that this school is offering the student $1,200 in work study, right? So that's great. But when students see this, they think, oh man, they're going to give me another $1,200. But as Ms. Luna mentioned earlier, work study is not money that they will give you to pay for school up front. Work study is kind of like an estimate of what the student would earn taking advantage of the work study program. So they're not going to give you this $1,200 up front. So it's not going to help you for that first term. It's not going to help you cover the expenses because you're not working yet, right? But they're saying that you could qualify for a federal work study job on campus for part-time work, and you could earn up to $1,200, and they would literally cut you a paycheck and you would collect that money and you spend it on what you need to spend it on. Okay? Beautiful. So we're going to move on, right? That would be the entire offer. So sometimes what you're going to find, before I go into tips and reminders though, sometimes what you'll find is that not all universities will be able to cover and close the gap entirely. And a lot of our families encounter a situation where scholarships and grants might cover some, loans might cover some, but then there will still be an amount left over that the family will have to cover, right? So not all colleges will meet the entire need of the student by providing them loans, grants, scholarships, and work study, okay? And these are the conversations that you'll be having together as a family once you start getting financial aid award offers, which happens when you get accepted into a university. So when you are accepted, you can expect that a few weeks after that acceptance letter comes in, sometime sooner, you will receive a financial aid award offer so that you can compare offers between schools as a family, okay? So important tips is you have to make sure that your financial aid application is submitted as soon as possible and that you have included every college that you are applying to on your financial aid application. This is how you get a financial aid award offer, is by listing every college you apply to on your FAFSA or your CADA application, okay? Because then that information is sent to your schools so that they can calculate aid for you, okay? Tip number 2, is to remember to log into your college portal once you have applied to the schools so that you can manage, like Ms. Luna showed you earlier, any action items you have remaining and what your financial aid offer will be and whether or not you were accepted to that school. And you will only receive an offer of financial aid if you are accepted to the school. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, step number 3 is important, and that is the process of reviewing your offers and comparing them across colleges. You will hopefully be in the position to get multiple offers to universities, which means you will have to compare multiple financial aid offers. This can be very daunting. If you see here, that little arrow points to a comparison tool. We'll share the slides with you after today. And there's a platform that all of our students have access to called californiacolleges.edu. And when your student logs into their account, under the financial aid section, there's a very helpful tool that will allow you to compare financial aid offers across different universities. It's a spreadsheet, and you basically enter in all the information from your offers across the schools, and it will break down the offers next to each other so that you can see what you would end up owing as a family for each university. So it's really nice to see a side-by-side comparison to see what the ultimate cost is for your family, because that will help determine ultimately where your student ends up going, right? That's a big factor. And then finally, tip number 4, reminder number 4, is that students will be required to submit an intent to register. That's what SIR stands for, submit intent to register. That means commit to their school of choice by May 1st or the school's admission deadline. This year is a very weird year because financial aid is new this year. The application is a new version of the application this year. There are delays this year. And so the traditional deadline of May 1st to accept your offer to a college is being extended across multiple college campuses. So keep that in mind. The UCs and Cal States have already come out and said, you know what? We know that everything is delayed. We're going to push our deadline to May 15th so that you have some extra time to review these offers with your family. So make sure you know what your university's SIR deadline is, because it will vary by university, by campus. And so we want to make sure that we know what those deadlines are so that you're making your final decision by that deadline. Okay, beautiful. Let's move on to the next slide and talk about creating your web grants account. So show of hands or in the chat box, how many of you have applied to a California university? A Cal State, UC, a California private school? A lot of you, right? Okay, thank you for raising your hands. 10, okay, now you're lowering your hands. Okay, so at least some of you are applying to California schools. So the web grants account is for students who are applying to schools in California. So web grants is administered through the California Student Aid Commission. So when you complete the FAFSA or the California Dream Act application for financial aid, what happens is that information gets sent to your universities, but it also gets sent to the state of California, because the state of California also offers grants and scholarships to families. Cal Grants, for example, like Ms. Luna mentioned earlier, is a California state grant offered to our students. So that information gets sent to California automatically. You don't have to do anything special. And they will let you know if you qualify for any California state aid, including the middle class scholarship and the Cal Grant and the Chafee Grant and some other grants, right? Don't worry about the names. You'll be told what you qualify for, okay? But how you know if you qualify is by creating this account. So for those of you who have applied to a California school, a UC, a Cal State, a California private school, a community college, you want to create this account so that you can manage your California state aid and determine what school you will go to so that they know how to send your information over to the correct school. Now, here's a warning or a caveat for you. Typically, we tell students to create this account after they have submitted their FAFSA or California Dream Act application. At this point, we need your FAFSA to be processed before you can create this account, okay? So there are delays once again. So your FAFSA or California Dream Act application for financial aid will not be processed until March. So I'm gonna say go ahead and hold your horses a little bit, and you can go ahead and create a web grants account in March. Okay, so once you know that your FAFSA or California Dream Act has been processed, and you can find that out by logging into your FAFSA or California Dream Act account, it'll tell you the status. Right now, it should say in review if you've submitted, and it'll say processed when it's processed. Once it's processed, you're going to create this Web Grants account, and you're going to log in so that you can view what aid you've received, and you will also be able to direct your aid to the school of choice that you have decided to attend, okay? Because you'll have to choose what school you want them to shoot that information over to. All right, and this information and page will be linked for you when we send you the slides from today's presentation. Wonderful.
Thank you so much. And before we get into Q&A, to wrap up, we want to remind you that our team is has been hosting different financial aid workshops or drop-in. So you do not have to attend the one to your home school. It is available to all CUSD families, right? So if you know you're a student at Tesoro, but you can't make it tomorrow, you are more than welcome and encouraged to come to the other nights where we'll have support. It'll be most of our team are made up of different college counselors in the Capistrano Unified District. And so here are those dates. Please make sure to register so that way you get reminders. And also be sure to bring your Chromebook and any necessities to ensure that you can get through the application. So yeah, these are nights that we will be offering support. Okay, so now time for the fun stuff, which is Q&A. Thank you so much for being patient with us as we break down everything for you. And so we'll start answering some questions live right now. And I know we have already started typing answers. So Ms. Josso.
Okay, we have a question about income limits for grants. So it's going to depend on the grant. So if we're talking about California grants, right? There are different income limits for the Cal grant, which is going to be typically lower. What I'm going to do is I'm going to link to the grant income ceilings for you right now. Okay, so I will put this in the chat box for everybody. So let me do this to everyone. Hold on, let me clean up this link for you. So the first link you're going to see is the Cal grant income ceiling, okay? And then the other one that our families are always interested in is the middle class scholarship income ceiling, which is much higher, right? And thank you for sharing that on your screen, Miss Luna. For the middle class scholarship, the beauty of this is that your family could qualify if you make less than $226,000 a year and have assets of under $226,000. So that's pretty good. So I'm going to link to that so that you have access to that as well. So let me put this in here for you. But for other grants, it will depend. If you're talking about institutional grants, they have their own calculus of how they calculate who qualifies for what, and it will be based off of the information on your FAFSA or California Dream Act. But the two big ones for us in California will be the Cal Grant and Middle Class Scholarship, and this is for students attending UC's, Cal States, or California private schools, or participating vocational and trade schools as well. So we have the question of, do we need to pay the university's acceptance fee before we receive an award letter? No. So the university will send you an acceptance. Congratulations if you get accepted. They'll send you a financial aid award letter. And then what happens is you're going to compare all your award letters and decide, what school am I going to go to? Once you decide what school you're going to go to, then you submit your intent to register, and that's when you pay your deposit or your enrollment fee. And that's you claiming your spot at the school and committing to them. So you're only going to do that for the one university that you commit to.
And in the event that your deadline is earlier than the Cal State UC, that May 15 deadline, and you log into your portal and you're not seeing a financial aid award letter, please contact the university directly to ensure that you have all the facts before you accept and pay the fee to accept admission into that school. Okay. So the support nights, there's a question about there being a support night at San Juan Hills. So I'm actually at San Juan Hills. We did have 2 nights earlier in the year, in January and February, but we are hosting, aside from like this financial aid support nights, your college counselor has different methods of providing support, whether it's doing a one-on-one a one-on-one appointment. But you are also welcome to do like a drop-in with them, email them if you can't attend or we're not able to attend the earlier night.
All right, so I just turned off my video. Question, do I have to create two different FAFSA accounts for two different seniors? The answer is no. So if you are a parent with twins, seniors, right? You create your one parent account and that is all you need. You don't create two accounts because your FAFSA account, for example, if you're doing the FAFSA, is connected to your social security number. And what happens is you will be connected to your students when they complete their individual applications and invite you as their parent. So the minute that they invite you as their parent, that's how you connect to your students on their applications. So you only need one parent account for that.
There's also a question about creating the parent account and told me to verify tax information. How long will that take? That's kind of unknown right now. Right before we used to know kind of it was like a 3 to 5 day processing time or about a week until they verified the information. If you were in the parent account, right, if you clicked on approving consent of retrieving all your IRS information directly, it should be done right away because it's online. But the trouble this year is that processing times are taking longer than they were before. So sometime in March there was just updates as well, right? We're always getting updates and trying to keep up to date with what's happening. But you should be able to see revisions sometime in March because then of course you'll have a financial aid offer after that and before you have to accept the admission offer to your university.
Yeah, but also to answer your question about the question about it telling you to wait to verify your tax information, sometimes what happens is if you create your FAFSA account that day and you go in to complete your student's application that day, what happened is that the Social Security Administration hasn't cleared your identity yet. And so they can't link to the IRS yet. So I think that's what it's telling you, because that's what sounds like what happened is that you created your account that day, and then you also try to complete your portion on your student's application that day. But what I would do is create your account, let the Social Security Administration verify your identity, which will take like 2 to 3 days, and then log back in maybe next week. And then by then it will verify that you are you connected to your social security number so that when you complete your parent portion and agree to connect to the IRS, all of your information will automatically be imported for you so that you don't have to manually input your tax information. Does that make sense? So I would just wait so that your FAFSA account gets verified by the Social Security Administration and go back next week, for example, and then it should link to your IRS. Cool. Okay, so question from Eddie. Congratulations. So my son has a conditional offer from a university in the UK. Congratulations. How is the process to apply for financial aid for a university overseas different than for a US-based university? So I think the first question is for you is, does this university in the UK participate in the US federal loan program, right? Or does it allow students to actually complete the FAFSA? A lot of schools in the UK, especially, do allow students to apply for financial aid in the form of loans exclusively, right? So federal loans. So one question I would ask the financial aid department of that university is, can students complete a financial aid application? Do they accept FAFSA to provide loans? Again, it's not going to be for scholarships or grants, but it could open them up to opportunities to take out federal loans to attend that school in the UK. Other than that, you would have to contact the university's financial aid department for international students specifically to see if there's anything else that they want from you for that school. But I would want to know if they accept the FAFSA, because a lot of UK universities do accept the FAFSA, and that would allow the student to at least take out federal loans at a lower interest rate. But outside of that, they might need you to pay out of pocket or apply for scholarships to help cover the cost of that education in the UK.
Question about does the student need to complete their part of the FAFSA application before the parent? Could the parent submit their portion first? So the student will need to create their FSA ID, right, their account information. The parent can also create their account, but the parent is unable to fill out their section unless the student creates the account, fills out their portion, because then they'll send an invitation via email for the parent to be able to fill out their own financial information, right? So you can't receive that invite unless your student has already created their account and has it's at the section where the parent is being invited then to fill out the rest of the information for the student. But you can create the account prior to your student, but you won't be able to fill out the sections unless they invite you.
Do you think it would be helpful for me to do a quick run through of what the application looks like? Would anybody like that? You can let me know in the chat. I can share my screen and show you a demo if you want to see a demo. I think I'm going to do it anyway because I feel like it'll be useful for you to see what it looks like from the student and parent end. But let me answer other questions before I do this. So our daughter was not able to submit her schools or do her signature on the application. Okay, let's do a demo. I'm going to show you a couple things because the signature part is really confusing. So let me just show you. Okay, from a student perspective and from a parent perspective, what this is going to look like. So, okay, so you should be able to see my screen right now. Okay, so I'm going to start as a student. So imagine that I'm the student right now. This is what it's going to look like. They're going to create their account and log in. When they log in, they're going to start a new FAFSA form for 24-25. Okay, we're applying for aid for next year, not for 23-24. So when the student does that, they're going to say, I am starting the FAFSA form as a student. So in theory, you could start as a parent, but I heard that there are a lot of complications in doing that. So I would encourage your student to do their portion first. Okay, so we're going to do that. And we're going to have the student complete, because this is the student logged in. You'll have a bunch of onboarding videos that they're going to want you to watch, and you should watch them to understand what you're getting into. For the purpose of tonight, I'm just going to speed past the intro phase of the application. And then you'll see that it says start FAFSA form. And again, we're logged in as the student right now, okay? So the first page is gonna be, please verify your identity. Is this information correct, right? And they're gonna say, yep, that all looks good to me. I already put this in when I created my account. What state do you live in? For this example, it's New York. If the student was born in California, for example, you'll just put their birth month and birth year right here for when they began their legal residency in the state. And then this is where they're going to approve their information to be imported from the federal tax information from the IRS, essentially, right? And you will do this as a parent as well to make your life easy. You'll want to do this so that it automatically imports all of your tax return information for you. So this is where the student will say, yep, you can import my tax returns whether or not I worked, right? And so they will approve, okay? And then they're going to continue and talk about personal circumstances right here. Typically, they're single, right? They're not married. They're going to be first-time freshmen obtaining their bachelor's degree. So this is very straightforward, and the application goes by very quickly once you're in, okay? It'll ask the student about extenuating personal circumstances, and then they will look at this and they will answer accordingly. I want to get to the parent invitation part is what I'm trying to do. They'll ask for additional questions about their circumstances. For example, whether or not they've been homeless since 2023, because that will help them decide how the student will carry on in the application. And then they'll ask just additional kind of unusual circumstances. What they're trying to do here is they're trying to understand if your student is an independent student who does not have to report parent information, or if they are a dependent student who will have to report parent information. For our students who are foster youth, whose parents are incarcerated, or they're not in their life, sometimes they will be determined to be an independent student, okay? But for most cases, we have a lot of parents in here. Your students are dependent students, and they will need to report parent information. So they will get to this portion here where they will start being asked about their parents so that they know who to report on their application. So they're going to ask, are your parents married to each other? And this will change, the following questions will change based on your answers, right? So if your parents are married, they're going to want information from both parents. So both parents should create an account just to be safe. If they're not married, they're going to say, okay, well, do they live together? No. Okay, well, did one parent provide more financial support? Yeah, my mom did. Okay, cool. Has your mom remarried? No. Okay, cool. We only want information from your parents. So you'll see how this tree kind of takes them down to exactly who they need to invite so that you don't have to worry about who should be answering these questions as a parent, okay? So what happens here is important because this is where you get connected to your student as a parent. In the student's portion, they have to add you right here. They have to add your full legal name, your birth date, your social security number if you have one. If you don't, they're going to say this, okay? And then they're going to add your email address and they're going to invite you to the application. And this is where that connection happens. For my parent with twins, this is where each of your twins will add you on their applications. And this is where you will be independently invited to each of their applications to complete your portion. Okay, and that's what it looks like from a student perspective, right? Now, if we were to go back to a parent perspective, it's pretty much the same thing, okay? It's going to be pretty much the same thing, except this time you're going to be logging in as a parent. And so let me show you what that looks like, right? So as a parent, you will get this email. This is your cue. For some of you who are like, I created my account, but what do I do now, right? This is what happens. You're going to get an email once your student invites you. It's going to say, hey, parent, your student needs your help, right? They're not eligible for aid. And then you'll be prompted to log in. And then once you've created your account, if you haven't created your account, you're going to create an account down here. But if you have one, you're going to log in. And then it's the same process all over again. You're going to accept the invitation from your student. You're going to continue and you're going to go into their application to complete your portion, okay? And I don't have to go into this because it's pretty similar to the student's portion. You're going to get through that intro section. You're going to connect to the IRS so that your taxes will be imported for you, nice and simple. You're going to verify your identity, and then it'll ask you some basic questions, and then you will essentially sign, okay? So what I wanted to show you was on the signing portion. I'm sorry I'm being so long-winded about this, but I feel like it's helpful to see on the screen, what it looks like for a parent to fill this out. Some of you have said that you can't find the signature page, and that's because it's in a really weird location. And it tricks people into thinking that they have signed when they haven't, okay? So let me speedily get to the end for you because I don't want to waste your time. It's going to ask you some basic information that you will have the answers to, okay? And then we're going to continue on, and you'll answer all of these questions, right? Whatever that may be. If it's 0, you have to type in 0. You can't leave it blank. It's going to ask you how much child support you might have received, how much is in your checking and savings account, right? Some basic information that they'll want to know. But this is where it's weird. So you will have completed all of this and you'll get to signature. For students, it's not as clear. When students do this, there's all this information between this and the continue button, okay? But students have to realize that they'll keep clicking here and they think that this is where they're supposed to sign. You should all be looking for the continue button on this page, which takes you to the signature page, okay? So look for the continue button, and this is where you're gonna verify that you didn't lie on your application and you're gonna sign and submit. So that is what parent and student has to do in order to be successfully done with the FAFSA, okay? So I know that was a lot, but I just wanted to share that with you so that you have a sense of what it looks like. Great question. So will my financial information be visible to my child? So in short, no. No, I think this is a brand new application, so I don't know what it's going to look like for them on their end this year. In the past, it was still really hard for students to figure it out. They'd have to kind of go in and dig. But because your IRS information is getting imported from the IRS automatically through the retrieval tool, that's going to be harder to see. I can't say for sure if they'll see all of your information because in the student aid report, when it's processed and you're given a preliminary kind of report of what your student aid index is, it might say something about household income, but I actually don't think it says anything about household income on that report. It could be, in theory, viewable to your student if they tried to dig really hard and go back into their application, but it's not something that is readily viewable to a student. And I think part of the way that they redid the application this year was to address that concern that parents had, which is why you're doing your own section on your own. And it's not, the student can't, go in and kind of manipulate that as easily. So the answer is kind of that, yes, I think if they dug hard enough, they could see, but there would be it would be difficult to get into that to see what your finances are. Sorry if that's not the most direct answer, but because it's a new application, I'm not even sure how the student would go in to see your information at this point.
Right. So very important that when you receive that email, you are the one that is answering that through that link and then answering your questions I also don't think it's viewable to the student. I haven't seen any students be able to view their parent financials up to this point. Okay, so somebody asked if it says on review, does that mean we are good to go? Yeah, so if you submitted and signed, it should say in review, okay? That is what you're doing. Again, the processing times I said earlier are different depending on the case, but that means you are good to go.
So Alyssa, it says that you said that your student signature was still missing. Is there a way to fix it? Yeah, so like I showed you, you want her to log back in to her FAFSA application, okay? Access the existing application. And she's gonna have to scroll down. There's gonna be a summary of everything that she's already completed, and it's gonna say signature, right? She needs to scroll down beyond that to the bottom where there's a blue button that says continue. And when she clicks continue, it'll allow her to sign and submit. So like that's why I was showing my screen earlier, because it's kind of hidden for the student's view. If your student is having a hard time with that, just have them come see their Futurology counselor on campus, and we'll log in with them and direct them to the signature page.
There's a question about being remarried but going through a divorce, but 2023 return was married filing separate. So remember that students are applying for the 24-25 school year, and they are utilizing 2022 tax information. So it's always as of what has been reported. So if there have been any changes or there's a current change going on, that is something you're going to communicate with the school that the student will be attending, but there's no section on the actual FAFSA application or CADA application for that matter, where you can input changes and detail changes. So for this year's FAFSA for your student, make sure you're reporting everything as of 2022, and then changes will be discussed with that future university so they can make adjustments. Okay. These are great questions. Thank you, everybody. We know it's been a challenge, so we appreciate you being patient and asking really great questions.
So question about, after getting an acceptance letter from Cal State, how long before the financial aid award letter is sent out, or does FAFSA have to come out of in review first? Exactly that. So the FAFSA will not send your students' financial aid information to universities until the middle of March. So that's what they said. So US Department of Ed is not even sending this information over to colleges until middle of March. And then the colleges will then have to process all of this information to come up with award letters for students. I don't think that you can expect reasonably a financial aid award offer from Cal States until April. So I think it's going to be April is when you're going to get a financial aid award letter from the UCs and the Cal States, because they have to process all of that information. It would be a miracle if they could get you something by the end of March, but most likely your award letter from the UCs and Cal States at least are probably going to be coming in April, which is why they extended the committing deadline, the submit intent to register deadline to May 15th, because they're probably going to be sending you your award letters late, which would be mid-April.
Question about is free money contingent on if your student will live on campus? So adjustments can be made. So if we're talking about the California grant, those are based on the GPA, middle, low income students, right? Need-based versus merit-based, and then scholarships as well, like university-specific grants, right? That is what has already been given to the student. But if say the student said, this year the financial aid application did not ask if the student will live on campus, right? That was done in the college application. So there can be adjustments. So keyword here is it's an award offer or an award letter. So adjustments can be made as students are finalizing their plan at that university. For instance, a student who is not enrolled full time can also be what's the word? They can be readjusted their financial aid offer if they're not enrolled full time. So any changes that are made from when the offer went out to when the student actually begins college, the college will be making adjustments. What does not change though is like the cost of tuition, right? Those things that we said are set in stone, those will not be changing. But then they can make changes to what they're offering if the student has certain changes in their GPA or grades.
So Alyssa, I'm not quite sure what's going on with your daughter's application. I would need to see it. Like for where does your daughter attend, Alyssa? If you could let us know. I would have her talk to her Futurology counselor, because it's something that like I think we need to log in and see to understand. At this point, you can't add or change schools, first of all, because I don't know if you asked about that, but if you've already submitted and you're trying to adjust the schools, you can't do that until it's been processed by the U.S. Department of Ed, and that's not going to happen until March. So corrections can happen after that. But I'm not quite sure what's going on, but it would be helpful to see the application and try to log in with the student. Tesoro. Okay, yeah. So she'll want to see Miss Gatlin in the College Career Center so that they can troubleshoot together. And Miss Gatlin is there every day in the College Career Center. And I'll put her email in the inbox for you as well. Maybe you can set up a quick Zoom meeting with her directly if you wanted to. And then you could also kind of work with her on that as well. So I'll put Miss Gatlin's email in the inbox for you.
Then question about my son's application has stated in review for just over a month. Should we contact them about this, or is this typical this year? This is typical this year, okay? So if you are seen in review, that means you've done what you can. You've filled out the application, you signed and submitted. Now we're just waiting for that potential March date where you can go back and see, and then colleges can process the information, and then you get an award letter sometime in April. So if you are staying in review, totally fine. You did what you needed to do.
The counselor for Dana Hills High School is Miss Nicole Rengifo. I'll put her information in the inbox as well. She is awesome, as is Miss Gatlin, as are all of us. We love our team. Nicole Rengifo, Futurology counselor, Dana Hills High School, NL Rengifo. All right, and that's her email address for you in the inbox.
As a reminder to schedule appointments, right? As you, I know some college nights have already passed by for certain schools, like for instance, San Juan Hills, right? On-campus appointment, you can see like Elisa Miguel. If you were to click on the Futurology website, it will take you to Ms. Nguyen's information to schedule an appointment with her, and so on. So here you're able to view who is at each of the high schools. It's only one counselor per school. So they will be there in their college centers every day.
Any other questions? We have a couple more minutes. We took you to right at an hour, I think. See, my son's FAFSA application status has stated, oh, did you already answer this, Ms. Luna? Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Awesome. That was a lot, wasn't it, everybody? Yeah. It's a crazy year, but we're going to get through it. And we're very excited for your students to get their acceptances in the spring, and we'll be here to help them review financial aid award offers. I know that at Aliso, I'm going to have a special session during Wolverine Plus for our seniors on how to analyze their award letters. So I'll be doing that with students on campus as well. And I'm sure my colleagues will be doing similar things across the campuses in the district.
Yes, at San Juan Hills, we have a Money Monday. So it's drop-in hours to either complete the application, or as you're getting award letters, that Monday, it's supposed to be for students to come by and say, hey, I have an issue with this, Miss Luna. Parents are more than welcome to come. It's just during lunchtime. But if you prefer a one-on-one, then of course we are more than happy to do that as well. But April is really the exciting time because we get to hear back from all the universities, and students are making big decisions, right?
I'm going to put in the chat box our financial aid support page. And this is the link to all of our upcoming workshops, some past ones. I'll have to remove those. Some upcoming workshops. And if you scroll down, you'll see a flyer for every high school in the district and all of the individual supports that we are offering students. I have an upcoming financial aid workshop at Aliso next Wednesday. If anybody wants to come and get some help, all schools are welcome. All students are welcome. It'll be in the library from 5 to 7 p.m. on Wednesday at Aliso Niguel High School, February 28th. There will be Spanish speaking support. I will be there as well as some other colleagues to help you with your specific financial aid questions. Awesome, my friends. Well, if you don't have any other questions, we thank you for being with us tonight. Ms. Luna?
Really quick, I just want to address another question that came up about if the parent does not have a social security number and how it is not allowing you to move forward. We did get an update just today that although they were encouraging parents to submit a paper application, they are asking us to wait. And by the end of this month, that should be resolved and you should be able to move forward with submitting your application. So Laura, I'm not sure where your student attends school, but we can definitely meet with you one-on-one for that support.
Okie dokie.
Well, we hope you get to enjoy some dinner or some rest time or some movie night, whatever it is you do Wednesday nights. Thank you for spending an hour with us. We are always, we love what we do. If you can't tell by our faces, like we are getting so much information and we don't mean to overwhelm you. We just want to make sure we give you a full response. And then if there's something we're still working through, like the social security number, we will contact the people that we need to contact. We know wait times calling financial aid have been over an hour long, right? So be patient. We're working. We still have until April 2nd before that deadline. So if you don't have any other questions, you are welcome to log off. And again, go to our college and career centers and our college and career counselors. We are there to support you through college applications, financial aid, and really anything else that comes up from now until May. Thank you very much.